Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw.
Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Brews. I'm your host, Commander Claw, and I'm here to bring you 5 upgrades from Tarkir Dragonstorm for your commander of Tayam, Luminous Enigma, an Abzan commander. And guess what? This set is nothing but Abzan commanders. Super cool. Thing is a refresher in the magic universe of this color guild. But anyways, Tayam, top 50 commander, has been floating around top 20 at times, top 30, just because there's a lot of themes that support it very well, and that is +1/+1 counters. And if you've recently been playing Magic, +1/+1 counters have gotten a growth in way their cards are just more explosive. Creatures enter the battlefield with +1/+1 counters. You have a death trigger, something gets +1/+1 counters. Then there's the Ozolith where you save your +1/+1 counters and move them on to a target creature the following upkeep. It's crazy stuff like this that we didn't have before, but it is time to upgrade this commander. Maybe he's in a bulk box somewhere. Maybe he's in a raggedy cardboard box somewhere. Or maybe he's in a card sleeve. Anyways, let's talk about this commander. Bring him back. Let's go. For 1 in Abzan, 3/3 body, legendary nightmare beast. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional vigilance counter on it. Remember, vigilance is your creatures do not tap to attack. Next up, tap 3 mana. Remove 3 counters from among creatures you control. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then return a permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So I like to think of Tayam Luminous Enigma as a engine to reanimate permanents, not just creatures. We can reanimate planeswalkers and enchantments. So realistically, you are unlimited in what kind of theme you want to do. You can do life gain, you can do drain life, reanimation. You got a bunch of abilities or spells that you can just bring back, and they just need either a creature or an artifact to loop the desired effect that you want to do with this commander. So, without talking too much, let me present to you the first commander from Tarkir Dragonstorm that goes very well. Super Synergy. Tarkir Dragonstorm! Storm! So we got Felothar, Dawn of the Abzan. Abzan to cast. 3/3 body. Legendary creature, human warrior. She's got trample. When Felothar enters or attacks, you may sacrifice a non-land permanent. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So I gotta talk about this secret cycle. It's called Titan Cycle. Is whenever a creature enters or attacks. That together is the Titan Cycle. But anyways, this card is great because when she enters or attacks, all you gotta do is sacrifice a non-land permanent. It could be one of those creature tokens that you got created, food token, clue token, creature token, maybe a permanent such as an enchantment that you need to sacrifice in order to do some type of trigger. Or maybe a creature that needs to be sacrificed that has some type of death trigger. This just synergizes with this whole Abzan scheme. And when you do this sacrificing trigger, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So this just tells me you should go wide. Maybe all those saprolings you can create and sacrifice one saproling to put a +1/+1 counter on the rest of them. If you have 3 of them, oh bam, that's 3 +1/+1 counters that's on all these creatures, and you can trigger Tayam Luminous Enigma's ability by paying 3 mana and sacrificing, removing 3 counters from creatures you control to reanimate something from your graveyard that is 3 or less. You see where I'm going with here? Enough said. Moving on to the next commander that I recommend for ya. Endure mechanic. This is one of my favorite cards I'm recommending to you because I haven't seen many videos on it. Anafenza, Unyielding Lineage. That just sounds nasty already. Anafenza, Unyielding Lineage. For 2 and a white, 2/2 body, legendary spirit soldier. She's got flash. She has first strike. And whenever another non-token creature you control dies, Anafenza endures 2. So what does endure does? Put 2+1/+1 counters on it, or create a 2/2 white spirit creature token. So after me just saying that, I think you know where we're going with here. We're going to put 2+1/+1 counters on Anafenza. Okay, so back to the scenario where we got creatures we want to sacrifice, or they just when they die, we just want to put these +1/+1 counters on Anafenza, and she puts on 2 of them. So that's a really good amount right there. And once again, when she's paired on the battlefield with Tayam, you can just tap the 3 mana, remove 3 counters from a creature in order to reanimate something, a permanent spell. You see where I'm going out here. Great synergy. Right here, I found a sleeper for you. I found a super sleeper for y'all. We got Krumar Initiate, 1 and a black, 2/2 body, human cleric. All you got to do is tap X and tap black and pay X life. This creature endures X. Activate only as a sorcery. So you already know what we're going to do. Either you're going to put X +1/+1 counters on Krumar Initiate, or create an XX white spirit creature token. Look, that XX white spirit creature token is not bad. That's not bad if you feel like paying life. This actually would go very well with the Rowan Rakdos commander. Now that I'm thinking about it, ooh, ooh. But anyway, back to Tayam Luminous Enigma. Put X +1/+1 counters on it. So if we're trying to stack a bunch of counters to put on a creature, this is the creature to do it. If you pay 9 life and 10 mana, you're putting on 9 X +1/+1 counters on Krumar Initiate. Then you tap Tayam Luminous Enigma. You can tap it unlimited amount of times. You're just limited to the amount of mana to trigger its ability. 3, so 3, 6, 9 mana to. That's a lot of mana actually. But you got green and color pip is a possibility. Uh, yeah, I just think this is a really good card. Maybe 9 mana and 10 mana and 9 life is just a very expensive way to put +1/+1 counters. But there are creatures out there that say double the amount of counters on a creature. Then there's effects where you can sacrifice your creature and force an opponent to lose that much life equal to the creature's power and toughness. There's just so many ways out here to deal damage. Do not underestimate this sleeper. Hydras, 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 Hydras. So look, we're going to talk about a super cool creature type, Warden of the Grove. It is a Hydra. Hydras, if you don't know, they are creatures mainly in green, or at least have green in their color pip. There's only one red Hydra. There's only one red Hydra. But they usually have green in their color pip, and they are tap X and tap what? At least a 1 green. And this creature gets so many +1/+1 counters depending on the situation, right? That's what Hydras do. Super cool. There's a bunch of commanders out there that love these, like Magus Lucia Kane, one of my favorite teamer commanders. And this card does go with that. Anyway, Warden of the Grove for 2 and a green, Hydra 2/2 body. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever another non-token creature you control enters, it endures X. We're still on the endure theme here. It endures X, where X is the number of counters on this creature. Endures is you put X +1/+1 counters on this creature that entered, or create an XX white spirit creature token. So look, all you got to do is add counters on Warden of the Grove. It is an engine already to add more counters on creatures when they enter the battlefield. And you can just pump this up. This just gets out of control, and it adds an additional +1/+1 counter on your end step. So that means on your turn when you cast this, because you can only cast this during your main phase. Maybe you have flash, you can cast it during combat or your second main phase. But no matter what, when you cast it on your turn, you get a +1/+1 counter. Okay, that's what's really good about this card. I think a lot of new players don't really know what cards were like before. It said at the beginning of your upkeep or during your upkeep for special effects, and waiting till your next upkeep. It's a long time. That's a whole turn cycle. So it's refreshing, and look for cards that say at the beginning of your end step. Usually it's going to happen on your turn. So look, we got Smile at Death for 3 and 2 white. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 2 target creatures with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures. This might not seem very good, but there's a lot of powerful creatures with power 2 or less. Sometimes they might be power 2 and toughness 7 that you have in your game, in your deck. So don't think it's just like it's got to be a 2/2. It could be a 2/8, a 2/1, a 2/10. I don't know. But this is a really good card to reanimate creatures and to put +1/+1 counters on each of those creatures. And you get up to 2 creatures. So don't think it's just power up to power 2. It's 2 creatures with power 2 or less. That is at least 2 counters that you're putting on creatures for your Tayam Luminous Enigma. So we're here at the conclusion. Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you share this video because Abzan is back. It is back with a vengeance. They've brought out more support for this color scheme. Yeah, there's so many Abzan commanders now that you can probably find your Tayum in your bulk box sleeve somewhere. It's not lost. It is found. I think it's an awesome commander. You're just utilizing its counters, removal, and it doesn't have to necessarily be +1/+1 counters. It could be a vigilance counter, which he puts on a creature. So he's already doing his ability anyway. That's why I called him an engine. But there's so many ways now that creatures enter the battlefield with not only +1/+1 counters, maybe an indestructible counter, maybe a vigilance counter, maybe a lifelink counter. Yeah, you see where I'm going with here. So whatever you decide with him or her or creature it is, make sure you have a prominent game plan for that command. Peace.